Hi guys, Laura here. It is a little bit earlier than the end of the month. Right now, it's October 28th. I definitely will finish one more audiobook. So I'm just going to talk about it now because I have like an hour left of it. But for the month of October, I did wind up finishing 7 physical books and 3 audiobooks. This is also the month of New York City Comic Con, which adds a lot of craziness to my life because I feel like I start 1,000 books and then I never read them. So this was like playing catch up month. By the middle of the month, I felt like I was really back on my game. Um, the books that I did read from my Time Warp YA book club was My Plain Jane and Six of Crows, and I will chat about those in these videos. And then I read a couple of other books. But I actually had a really good reading month. Once I hit the middle of the month, I think school got a little bit easier and everything kind of fell into place, so I definitely read a lot more, which is good. But the first book that I finished reading was Dragon Watch by Brandon Mull. This is the spin-off series to Fablehaven. And this follows Seth and Kendra as they're on another adventure. I actually really like this book. I thought this book was super adorable, but I thought it like raised the level. It was kind of like when I read the Percy Jackson series, the first series, and then you read the other series, which is the Heroes of Olympus. It just raised the stakes. So I'm really excited to see what happens in the next couple books, and I have to actually get a copy of the second book, which I will probably wind up doing. And now I have 2 copies of this, so I might do a giveaway at the end of the month. We will see. But overall, I actually really like this book. I thought it was a great fast-paced adventure story, which is really what I was like craving. And yeah, I really liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. If you had read Fablehaven a long time ago, I would maybe recommend a reread before you dive into this because there was a lot of plot points that I just forgot that happened. But I actually really did like it, and I gave it 3.5 stars, almost 4 stars. But yeah, that's my thought on Dragon Watch. And then the next book that I wound up finishing reading, this is right around when Comic-Con was, and I wound up finishing Arlo Finch and the Valley of Fire. Normally what happens during New York City Comic-Con is I am waiting on lines a lot, and I was waiting on lines a lot on Sunday. And I just pick up the first book out of my bag, and I had bought that because I got an arc of the second book. And I read it online most of the day Sunday. So by the time I got home from Monday and I had off Monday, I think I finished it Monday morning. And I thought it was super adorable. It was a former Owl Crate Junior pick that I didn't wind up getting that box, but I actually really liked it. It was like a perfect mix of between adventure, magic, mystery. I just really liked it. I don't have a physical copy anymore because I did a giveaway for the kids at my job, and one of my kids won it. But I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great fantasy with like adventure story with hints of fantasy. I thought it was so good, and I really cannot wait to read book 2. But I did like it. I gave it like 4 stars. I thought it was a great story, and I'm really excited to read book 2. The next book that I wound up finishing was an audiobook, and that is Who Thought This Was a Good Idea by Alyssa Mastromoni. And she was she was in Obama's White House, and it was just a really interesting look at politics through her eyes. I loved reading about the Obama administration, just like how it run and everything. That was super interesting. And I just liked, she was a young girl, and had a lot of life changes this year or this month or these past couple months. So it's nice just seeing someone like talking about her first job and all that stuff. I thought that stuff was really interesting, and it just was interesting to see her eyes about politics. I really like that. So I wound up giving it like 4 stars. She was reading it to me, and I've had really luck with authors reading their books this past couple months. But I actually really like that I gave it 4 stars. If you're looking for kind of a different political novel, or political memoir, I would read hers because I thought it was super interesting. The next book that I wound up finishing reading was The Reader by Tracy Chee. This one was the book that I started during BookCon or Comic-Con. I keep saying BookCon. And this was probably the book that took me the longest to read. It's definitely a high fantasy. I really like the world. The pacing I just struggled with throughout the whole novel. And it took me a while to read this. But by the end, I really liked it, and I'm actually on a tour for the speaker. And I will probably wind up reading it hopefully by the tour, if not then immediately after. But I really did like all the various point of views that we got, but I did get a little bit confused sometimes in the book. That's why I knocked down a star. So it would have probably been like a 4-star read, but it just got knocked down a little bit because I got confused in the world, but I did like it, hence my confusion. But I'm definitely excited to check out The Speaker. The world was interesting. I wish I felt a tad more connected to the characters. But other than that, I really liked it. So, and I'm definitely going to be curious to check out book 2. This whole month, I've also been listening to Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I have been in the middle of this reread for a while now. It's been about a year. But I restarted with MuggleCast, so I have been listening to a lot of backlog episodes, so that's where a lot of my listening time went to this month. But I also wound up listening and completing This Will Only Hurt a Little by Busy Phillips. This was another super fast audiobook that I wound up listening to, and I actually really liked it. I really did like her on Dawson's Creek back in the day, and her book was definitely a little bit of a more an emotional read. I think packed a little bit of an emotional punch, but just reading everything that she's been through and everything in her life, and I just found it super compelling. It was really funny. It was like heartbreaking. I love seeing about like behind the scenes Hollywoods that you don't always get to see, so I really enjoy books like that. Like I really liked Chrissy Metz. I really liked James Corden. I really liked hers. But her reading it to me really broke my heart a little bit because she was just so good at it. So I ended up giving her book like 4.5 stars. There was massive trigger warnings in this book. I'm just putting it out there. They talk about abortion. They talk about drugs. They talk about depression. They talk about cheating. Really everything that you can imagine is in this book, but it was super, super, super well done, and I really, really liked it. And I definitely have to check out her new late night talk show. And I do talk about this a lot in my recent reading vlog, so go check that out if you want more information about the book. But overall, I found it to be a really compelling listen, and I got through it pretty fast. After I finished Devouring Gray, this is kind of when my reading slump broke, because I had started reading Arlo Finch, I had started reading The Reader, and I started reading Devouring Gray all at the same exact time. So once I kind of finished them up in chronological order, I felt a little bit better about my reading. So this is officially the first book that I read from New York City Comic Con, Devouring Gray by Christian Lynn Herman. It is a Disney book, and it comes out in April. It was pitched to me as Stranger Things meets The Raven Boys. I definitely get the Stranger Things vibe. The first maybe like 25 or 30 pages really did had elements of Twilight to me, and I was a little bit hesitant going into it, but I actually really, really liked it. I thought it was super well done, super well crafted, and I just really loved the world. I thought the characters were so intriguing. I again talk about this a lot in my reading vlog, but I loved it. I thought it turned stereotypes on its head. I thought it really dealt with the world. It was like so well done, and definitely is massively inspired by Stranger Things, but I think it also is so unique in its own right. I really love the characters. There's all like in my arc anyway, which I'm sure the finished copy, they have these awesome drawings. And I just really liked it. I thought it was just like a really fast-paced, easy fantasy read, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm definitely going to be checking out. Probably would definitely be going to get one of my arcs is actually signed, but I would love to see like what a finished copy looks like, so I'll probably definitely consider getting it. And I did want it meeting her as well. But really good. 4.775 stars. I thought the ending was a little bit rushed, and the middle had some pacing issues, but overall, I really liked it. So I gave it like 4.5 stars. If you're looking for kind of, this would actually be a great fall read. I'm really glad I read it in fall. I know it's coming out in April, but you could definitely buy it and then push it to the fall to read. But I actually really, really, really liked it. So definitely keep this out on your agenda in April, and I will definitely remind you when it comes out. But yeah. The next book that I wound up finishing was the book that everyone wanted at New York City Comic Con, and by everyone, I mean everyone. There was a near trample to try to get this book. I was not trampled, but I did wind up getting 2 copies inadvertently later in the year. Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schultz. This book I wanted to adore. I thought the premise was so interesting. It wasn't my favorite. I liked it. I didn't love it, so I wound up giving it like 3.75 stars. I thought I wanted to feel the book is structured really interestingly, and I like the structure. I like that about it. I thought that the characters that we met were not like unique and different. I loved Caroline. I thought she was amazing. All the other characters felt like I've seen them before, so the plot was interesting. The world building felt like a mashup of a couple of tropes. So it wasn't super unique and super different, but I did like it. I thought it was an interesting read. It was a fast-paced murder mystery, so that kept me on the edge of my seat. There was definitely a plot twist at the end. Was like, oh my god, what is going to happen? So once we got to that point, I was really hooked, and that happened like with 50 pages left. I don't know if this is the start of a new series. It comes out in February, but I liked it. I didn't love it. I liked it. So I would definitely go consider reading it because I thought it was like interesting. It's like murder mystery, and there was like a lot of different worlds. It felt like there was like a mashup of a couple of different dystopian worlds all together. Um, didn't make the world super interesting or super unique, but I did like it. So that's my thoughts on Four Dead Queens by Ashton Schultz, and I would definitely considering looking for it when it comes out in February. And then the next book that I wound up finishing was a library pick, and that's Unclaimed Baggage by Jen Dahl. And I literally just finished this yesterday. This is a holdover from summer. So these cute characters named Nell, Doris, and Grant. And Nell recently moved to this town in Alabama. Grant and Doris have lived there forever. They're all kind of going through something when they start this book, but they all wind up working at this store called Unclaimed Baggage, where baggages from all across the world, when they get lost, they kind of get sent to this store and then they sell them. And the setting was awesome. I loved the setting. I thought that was so cool. This book focused a lot on friendship dynamics, like ridiculous amount on friendship dynamics, which I really liked. There was subtle hints of romance, but it also dealt with a lot of harder issues in like a really realistic way, like alcoholism. The Me Too movement was even mentioned in here, which I thought was so interesting. Just a lot of interesting topics like racism, and it was just like a really, really well crafted novel. This book really had less romance than I was expecting, and that's actually good. This book, I hope in the future actually does get more romantic or has more romantic plot twists. But this book definitely had hints of romance, and the end was definitely focused on it. This is definitely more a find yourself novel or like a friendship novel. But I really liked it, and I gave it like 3.75 stars. And I would definitely consider, if you're looking for kind of a fun contemporary or a fun summer read, this is one you pick up. And it was a great read because it's getting cold here, and you know I like to hold on to summer as long as I can. And then the last book that I finished reading was My Plain Jane. Sorry, I don't know where my cover went. But this was a Charlotte Bronte Jane Eyre retelling, but it was a ghost story. And I loved My Plain Jane or My Lady Jane last year. This book was just fun. It was like a fun story. I loved the characters. I loved the world building. I thought the pacing in the middle was a little bit wonky at points, but I actually really liked it. I gave it 4.75 stars. Definitely one of my highlight reads of the month. And I just really, really enjoyed it. So it was like perfect fall read that I wound up reading. It was a part of my challenge from my book group that I do. But yeah, I really liked it. And I will be curious to see what Jane they tackle next. I don't know who they'll tackle next. But I definitely really liked this. So it was humorous, it was funny. All the point of views were really funny. I love the subtle callbacks to like other books and other like historical events. But yeah, that's my thoughts on My Plain Jane. I have an hour left in my audiobook for Sixth of Crows. I'm liking it. I'm not loving it, and I think that's just because I'm listening to it. I've definitely got more invested like as the days have gone by. So maybe when I physically read it, it might change my things. I definitely really like the characters. I'm just missing Nikolai, so he might show up like in the last hour. That'd be great. But I definitely cannot wait to read his book. Which I will be reading the second I finish Crooked Kingdom. Yeah, but those are all the books that I wound up reading, and now I'm gonna go do my TBR for the month of November. But let me know, what is your highlight reads of the month? And mine were definitely The Devouring Grey, My Plain Jane, and my favorite audiobook was This Will Only Hurt a Little. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.